What if I told you that whatever that external thing you're chasing isn't actually what you're looking for? I wasted over 7 years of my life because of a couple bad decisions. I was always chasing that next business, the next relationship, the next goal, the next milestone. And there's a study on the top 5 regrets of the dying. And the number one regret, it's not about money or success or even missed opportunities. The number one regret of the dying is that they wish they had lived a life more true to themselves instead of what others expected of them. I read that article somewhere around 2018, and I still made the wrong decisions. If you're like most high achievers, you know that you were made for more. And with that level of ambition that we have and that drive, we can get ourselves into a state where our mind just doesn't shut off, our body is stuck in constant stress mode, and we're go, go, go all the time. We think we're doing all the right things, but we still feel restless or drained or disconnected. So in 2017, I was 26 years old. I was 3 years into a promising career in tech, and it wasn't until earlier this year that I finally started putting these pieces together. After a decade in a career that I knew I didn't want to stay in, after multiple perfect storm health collapses over the years, and after my nervous system became so dysregulated that it was affecting my daily life. So in this video, I wanted to share some of my journey so that you can avoid some of the mistakes that I've made. Because now that I'm on the other side of it, everything is changing. Let's back up real quick to 2009, where I was choosing my college major. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, as I'm sure most 18-year-olds don't. I loved music, and I was good at math and physics, and I chose to do computer science for my major. And I remember that I felt sad. It was a choice between computer science or being a musician, being a drummer. And in my mind, I had this belief that I wasn't good enough to be a drummer. And of course, my parents were pushing me and saying, well, it's going to be a lot easier to get a job in tech, doing computer science, doing, this thing, you can go work for a big company. So I chose computer science. And I remember that I felt sad making that decision. And there was another piece of me that knew for a long time, like very intuitively, that I didn't want a desk job. And going computer science, guess what that is? Like being a software developer, you're working at a desk. 4 years of school later, in 2014, I graduated from one of the best tech colleges in the United States, and my first job was at Pandora Radio in Oakland, California, Silicon Valley, right? Making 6 figures out of college. I still knew at that point I didn't want to do this work forever. And I still stayed with this company, and I did this work for 3 years, working because the money was good, right? The life was good, but I knew on the inside something was wrong. Something was off. I didn't feel connected. I felt empty. I didn't feel like I had good relationships around me that were the type of people that I wanted to be connected to. So in 2017, a few years after I graduated, I finally decided that something had to change. I was heartbroken from a few failed relationships, and I chose that I was going to travel the world. I was like, that's the change that's going to cause something to happen, right? I'm going to choose to travel, and some type of change I'm going to experience, right? I had that belief. So I did that, but I chose to still stay in tech. I just changed jobs to another company that would allow me to work and travel at the same time. So for 2 years, life looked great on the outside. I was traveling the world. We were taking weekend trips to exotic places because we were already in Bolivia, Ecuador, Italy, Mexico, Costa Rica. It was a fun time, don't get me wrong. But in reality, what this all was a distraction. It was a distraction from the emptiness that I felt inside about myself, a distraction from choosing a career path and a role in society that I knew I didn't want to play from the moment I chose it. But the travel helped me discover something else. I finally met entrepreneurs and business owners that were more adventurous and living life on their own terms. And finally, I felt like this was the kind of answer I was looking for. These are the kind of people that I wanted to be surrounded by. It was a huge shift in my experience of what life could be like. So I started researching different businesses and trying new things and building my own apps because, again, I was a software developer. The only problem was that in addition to the distraction of all of this travel, there was a couple health events that forever changed my life. The first one of this was that my dad was diagnosed with brain cancer. And I was fortunate enough to be able to take the time to go back to my parents' house to help take care of him because I had this remote work now. But that time, that it was 4 months, and taking care of him put my nervous system in such a dysregulated state that is really pretty hard to put into words. But that was one of the hardest 4 months of my life. It's one of the most challenging things I've ever done. And number two, I had a couple bad decisions that were affecting my health along the way because of some of the experiences that I had in some of these foreign places. I had a tropical infection, I got sick in Mexico, and I took some antibiotics that destroyed my health, it destroyed my gut. I didn't know it at the time, but those couple decisions made my health decline pretty rapidly. And not just my physical health, but also my mental health, in combination with the insane amount of stress that I had, in combination with the heartbreak that I experienced just before I started traveling. So I chose to take a break from all of this chaos, all of this noise, and settle down somewhere for a little while. So in 2019, I finally quit my job. I quit my W-2 and I moved to Puerto Rico with a couple friends. Our whole goal for this was to lean into our businesses and figure it out together. And also for me, I wanted to take a break and calm down, let my mental health recoup, right? Let my physical health recoup. When you're traveling all the time, when you're living in a different country every month, it's hard to have consistency that you need in order for your body to heal and do what it needs to do. So I lived there for 3 years. And to be honest, it never really felt like home. But I told myself that I was saving money because of the cost of living and because of the tax laws that you get in Puerto Rico. The first business ventures that I started were around trading the stock market and the crypto market, crypto coins. And I thought it was cool and I thought it could help me make money fast. The problem with crypto and with trading is you can also lose money very fast. And I was a software developer, so I was able to build tools to help me automate some of this stuff. That business venture didn't really go anywhere meaningful, not to mention I felt empty running it because earning money for money's sake isn't very fulfilling. And as much as I liked the ability to work directly at the raw level of money without anything else in the way, it wasn't adding meaning to my life, and it wasn't something that I knew I wanted to do for the long term either. And yet I kept going with it. I still chose to kind of see if I could make that work because to me, it seemed like the escape that I was looking for from the previous career that I had chosen. In addition to all of this, it turns out that I was allergic to mold, and I didn't know it at the time. But of course, Puerto Rico being a very humid and tropical climate, there's a lot of mold. So actually for the 3 years that I lived in Puerto Rico, my health was actually getting worse, not better. And the problem was I was trying to get help, but I didn't really care to find out too much. And I didn't really take enough of a break and a step away from everything because I was really pushing on this whole business thing. And as the health issues slowly happened, you don't really notice them over time because they all happened little by little. So while all of this chaos was going on, the health issues, my health getting worse, not better, my mental state wasn't great, my nervous system's dysregulated, I'm allergic to the air that I'm breathing, I had quit my full-time job and I picked up some part-time work. All of this chaos was going on. There was one thing that helped me stay calm. One thing that helped me stay grounded and steady and actually reduced the amount of anxiety that I didn't know I had. So I took a brain scan in Puerto Rico and they said there's anxiety all over your brain. I had no clue. I didn't resonate with that. It wasn't something that I was aware of. But when they told me that, I was like, oh, so that's what anxiety is. Just my normal state of being was one of anxiety. So this thing that I was doing that really helped me stay grounded and steady and reduce that anxiety, I didn't know it at the time. And it sounds crazy now, but it was a self-somatic energy practice. And it's something that I just did on my own at home, sitting in a chair for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. It's been many years since I've discovered it and I've refined it and I've taught it to some friends and now I teach it to my clients. And it's pretty amazing to see how fast your life can change and how fast your life can shift when you have the right tools and when you don't have all these other issues going on behind the scenes. So in 2022, I finally left Puerto Rico and I moved to Tampa, Florida. My whole goal of moving to Tampa was to do real estate. I wanted to buy properties. I was looking at a fourplex. Well, that was before COVID. And so after COVID, I was looking at single family homes because I wanted a place kind of like my goal with Puerto Rico. I wanted a place where I could sit down, where I could calm down, where I could put down some roots and chill. I just knew Puerto Rico wasn't it. So the goal was that Tampa was going to be that. I wanted to invest in my finances. I wanted to invest in real estate. I wanted to invest in the city itself because Tampa was an up and coming city. And I wanted to build passive income. That's why I chose real estate. But it turns out my allergies actually got worse when I moved to Tampa. And it took me 3 years to figure that out. And that was even more distraction from what I was really trying to do, which was change my career in the first place. And so all of the allergies getting even worse prevented me from buying more than just one property. And that's when I realized that my health really had to become a priority. So let's do a quick exercise. This is something that I do with my clients, and I want to run it by you guys here. So there's three main aspects of life, and I want you to rank them. The first one is health, the second one is your wealth, and the third one is your relationships. So real quick, how would you rank those in order of how important they are for you? It could be different. It could be relationships, then wealth, then health, or relationships, then health, and then wealth. Or maybe health is your number one, right? Or maybe wealth is your number one. So how important you think that is, go ahead and rank them 1, 2, 3, and let me know what you got. Feel free to drop it in the comments too. All right, so now you have your 3 in order. Now let's rank them again. But now we're gonna rank them in where we put our energy. Where are we spending most of our time? Where are we spending most of our effort? What would the ranking look like now? Maybe some things shift a little bit. Maybe we're spending so much time on business that wealth comes to the top, and maybe health drops to the bottom, or maybe relationships drop to the bottom. One thing that I noticed with a lot of people who have that drive and who have that ambition, we think we have health at the top, or we think we have relationships at the top, importance-wise. But the reality is that all of our energy and effort is going into wealth, and that health can often drop towards the bottom. And so no wonder we get in a state where we're super stressed, where we're constantly on go, go, go mode all the time. And we're always fighting for more dollars. And yet our health is suffering and we're paying for it in that way. This took me a long time to realize, guys. So I hope this helps and you can start shifting things in your own life. In addition to that, I started discovering more aspects of this work that I was doing. And I finally found practitioners who could actually help me regulate my body and regulate my nervous system back to a more normal baseline. So in 2025, I finally decided to make some real changes, and I leaned into this whole channel and this whole business of helping my clients because this is what my inner voice was telling me the entire time. The very first business that I ever started was a blog about wellness, about personal growth, about personal development. And so finding that inner voice inside takes time also. You have to find the correct intuitive voice, not the scared one, not the critic, but your intuition. And so everything can start falling into place. It's amazing what I've experienced, the serendipity, the things that just happen to spontaneously happen the way you want them to without even trying. Life happens for you as you start making choices that are way more in line and more aligned with your intuition. My health has significantly improved, and it continues to because of me putting that as a higher priority. I'm learning more energy work from some of the best coaches in the world, which is mind-blowing to me that I've been able to have that opportunity. And I'm helping my friends and my clients transform their lives by reclaiming their mental and emotional power also. So let's take a step back and let's see at a high level what some of these main lessons are that I've realized over the course of the many years that I've been on this crazy journey that we call life. The first one is that you have to discover the thing that you want to do. And I say discover, not choose, because you have to learn how to listen to that inner voice. A lot of us have silenced that inner voice over the years, over the decades of our life. That's your intuition. And it's way more powerful than you realize. And this is why it's a discovery process. You discover yourself. You discover more of your intuition. You discover that voice. You discover who you are. And then the choice is whether or not you actually follow that voice, whether or not you actually do the thing that you feel you are meant to do. You discover that, and then you decide to go do the thing every day. One of my favorite quotes, it's a funny one, it's about a fish, is that if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's a failure. What tree are you climbing when you should be swimming in the ocean? Think about that. Maybe journal on that tonight. The second one is that anything outside of that purpose is just distracting noise. Caring about what other people think, worrying about what other people are going to feel about you, not just think, if you make a choice aligned with what you want to do, not with what they think you should do. The sunk cost fallacy, that belief of like, oh, I shouldn't do that because I spent so much time doing this already. It's called a fallacy for a reason. That's just distracting noise. If you're out socializing, partying, going crazy every weekend, right? That is distracting noise. Once you decide on following the voice that you've discovered is your truth, that's what you got to be doing. And you've got to do whatever it takes to get to that point, to live the life that you want as soon as you can. That is when you're going to feel the joy and life being lived on your own terms. The third lesson in all of this is that you have to learn to turn off that noise. So once we discover what we want to do and we choose to do it, and we start to realize that everything else is just distracting noise, we now need to learn how to turn off that noise. And there's two pieces to this. There's the external noise and there's the internal noise. The external noise is the partying, the socializing, people telling us to do something else, coworkers, family, teachers, whoever that may be. And the internal noise is believing that there's a sunk cost, the inner critic telling us to do something else, our own self-doubt, our own self-criticism, our own imposter syndrome, right? Anything that we think internally that is keeping us from doing that work, that's internal noise. We have to learn to turn that off. There's another quote that I really like, also about a fish, which is, if you ask a fish what water is, it's not going to know what you're talking about. It's in it all the time. It's literally swimming in water. It doesn't know what it is. Just like if you were never told what air is, you're not going to know. It's invisible. It's all around you. That is what it's like detaching yourself and realizing the internal noise and the external noise, especially the internal noise. If it's in you, if it's swimming around in your mind all the time, it can be hard to differentiate. Learning to separate yourself from the noise and learning how to turn that off is key. The fourth lesson is to prioritize your physical health and your mental health along the way. This is so important, guys. Out of the different types of energies that we have in our bodies, the first one is our life force, our life energy, our biological energy, the energy that keeps our body running and operating to do all the things that we want to do. If something is taxing your system, in my case, it was the allergies, it was the mold, it was the gut issues that I've had, it was the sensitivities to food and the air I was breathing in the different places that I've lived. All of that was taxing my immune system. All of it was taxing my base health, my base physical health. If that's not solid, if that is being burdened, it's going to distract all of the other aspects of your life. And that was the case for me. So you have to prioritize your health, guys. It took me way too long to realize that and to move my wealth out of those three, right? Health, wealth, relationships, to move wealth down and bump health to the top. And it wasn't until I did that I finally started making changes that actually made a difference and moved the needle. And in addition to your physical health, your mental health is also just as important. And that's what I was saying earlier about the self-doubt, the self-criticism, the imposter syndrome, all of that stuff, your stress, your anxiety. You have to learn how to bring those down, and you have to prioritize that if you want to get to where you want to go. And that leads me into lesson number 5, which is find the best tool for the job. This is something that I'm very passionate about. I discovered a while ago that tools are key to making progress. If you look at the whole history of humanity, it was the innovation of better tools that bumped us from one level to the next. The innovation of the wheel, that is an amazing tool, right? Now we're at the age of computers. The innovation of AI is changing the world. A new tool makes significant changes. If you're realizing all of those first 4 things that I told you about, and you're stuck at a certain level, it might be because there's a tool that you haven't tried yet that would be better for that job. And maybe that job is learning how to differentiate the noise. Maybe that job is quieting the inner critic, quieting the inner noise so that your mental clarity can have a calmer baseline. Or maybe the job is just reducing the internal stress and anxiety, right? Bringing down the mental chaos, making room for mental clarity. Having the best tool for the job for that is going to make a heck of a difference. And I'll tell you what, a lot of the conventional tools that are out there aren't really strong enough tools, to be honest. I've tried a lot of them. And the 6th lesson that I'm going to leave you with is that energy is at the root of just about everything. It's what drives us to be alive. Energy is running through our body, through our nervous system, right? It's not this woo-woo thing. It's running through your nervous system, powering your thoughts, powering your digestion, powering your gut, powering your brain, all of your organs, every cell in your body. It all runs on energy. And the energy that runs that also affects your relationships. It also affects how you feel about yourself mentally. And as energy gets stuck and bound in the body, as it does, and this is just the way life happens, this happens to us as we age. As energy gets bound in the body, it's going to mess with the processes of some of these aspects of your health, or of your mental state, or of your relationships, or of your purpose. And as you learn the tools, again, having the right tools, as you learn the tools to clear and to release and unbind some of this energy that's been bound up, it really changes everything. So those 6 things have dramatically shifted my life from when all of this collapse started around 2017 to now in 2025. And it has been a crazy journey. I just hope that people don't have to experience the level of struggle that I did trying to figure out my way and learning a lot of these lessons the hard way, to be honest. So there's better tools out there. But again, these 6 lessons, you have to start with discovering what you want to do and then choosing to do it. And if you're not doing that, everything else just kind of falls by the wayside, to be honest. And remember, it goes back to that number 1 regret of the dying. I wish I had lived a life more true to myself than what others expected of me. I'll leave it there, guys. I'll see you in the next video.